One year, I guess I was about 16, I decided, okay, this year on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, I'm going to do everything you're supposed to do on Yom Kippur. But as I'm walking home at the end of the holiday, I'm thinking it didn't work. I don't know. God just seems as distant and alien as he did 24 hours ago.
Hey friends, Jeff Morgan here. As more Jewish people all over the world are realizing that Jesus, Yeshua, is indeed Messiah and Savior of the world, our guest today has played a very influential and significant role in helping us understand how that can be. I'm here with Randy Newman, a Jewish follower of Jesus and author of Engaging with Jewish People, Questioning Evangelism, Corner Conversations, Mere Evangelism, and more. He is Senior Fellow for Apologetics and Evangelism with the C.S. Lewis Institute, and I am so excited to have Randy Newman here today. Randy, we met a few months back at a conference in Washington, D.C., and I told myself that I must have you on the channel and share you with our viewers. You have a wonderful way of sharing your faith that not only helps Jewish people understand that Jesus truly is who he claimed to be, but you show people how to have insightful and enriching conversations about faith in Jesus, which we are going to talk about today. So thank you for being with us today, Randy.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. I'm delighted to be with you.
Great. So first things first, I love your Yom Kippur story, which I'd like you to share with the viewers, and what you called your theological trump card whenever someone presented Jesus to you before you were a believer. So my first question to you, as a Jewish boy raised in a Jewish home, how did you become a follower of Jesus?
Well, yeah, I'm originally from suburbs of New York City. Grew up out on Long Island, if people are familiar with that. And I grew up in a time when Jewish parents really wanted to make sure that their children knew what it meant to be Jewish. So I went to synagogue and I went to Hebrew school. That's what we called it, 3 afternoons a week, in addition to public school, to learn about how to participate in Jewish worship and all of that. And so I took it really seriously. In fact, I think I took my Jewishness more seriously than my parents did. And I really think I was trying to connect with God in some kind of meaningful way beyond just ritual. But everything I learned in Hebrew school and in preparation for my bar mitzvah just felt like ritual. It didn't seem like to connect in any kind of meaningful way. And then one year, I guess I was about 16, I decided, okay, this year on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, I'm going to do everything you're supposed to do on Yom Kippur. And I'm not going to do everything you're not supposed to do on Yom Kippur. So no eating, no driving in the car, go to synagogue all evening the night before and all day, say all the prayers, confess all the sins, do everything. Because I thought, finally, for once, I'll get right with God, because I've been leaving parts out up till now. And this particular year, I did everything you could possibly do. But as I'm walking home at the end of the holiday, I'm thinking it didn't work. I don't know. God just seems as distant and alien as he did 24 hours ago. And I was really discouraged. And I looked down at my shoes. I was dressed up in a nice suit. I was wearing dress shoes. And at that point, I remembered that in Hebrew school, we learned that on Yom Kippur, you're not supposed to wear dress shoes. This is not in the scriptures, by the way. This is in rabbinic tradition. And there's a million different explanations about why, none of which seem all that compelling. But you're not supposed to wear dress shoes. And I thought, oh, that's why it didn't work. I wore the wrong shoes. I guess I'll just have to wait till next year. And then I thought, well, that's got to be the stupidest thing in the world. You got to be kidding me. This is how you connect with God, by remembering this rule, wear the right shoes, say the right words. It's got to be something more meaningful and real. And so that was a very discouraging experience. I think I don't know, I didn't quite pray, but it had the effect of it, a prayer of, God, if you're out there, show me who you are. And I now look back at that experience, and I think God began answering that prayer, however much I may have meant it, by leading me to a group of believers who really did know God in a real and personal way. And they were all Gentiles, and they were at this church youth group. And a friend of mine from high school invited me to the church youth group. He said, you should come because the girls are cute. So I went. That's why I went. He was right. But I met this group of believers who they talked about God like they really knew him, like he was right there with them. They prayed about everything. They prayed in English, which I thought that was like an unfair advantage. I mean, it didn't seem right. I thought God only knew Hebrew. I didn't really think, but I mean, so I was really attracted to how they knew God so personally. And then I think what you're referring to, my trump card, was whenever they would say anything about Jesus. I mean, well, I started asking them, how is it that you know God so well that you could talk about anything and you could pray in English? And they would say, well, it was because of Jesus. And I think what you're referring to, that trump card, I always said, oh, well, I'm Jewish. We don't believe in Jesus. There.
Right.
And up until that point, that always ended the conversation. People, oh, you're Jewish. Yeah, okay, never mind. But this group of believers said, well, so what? I mean, Jesus was Jewish. His followers were Jewish. The book about him, the New Testament, was written by Jewish people. For the first 300 years of the belief in Jesus as the Messiah, the vast majority of believers were Jewish, and I didn't know any of that. And so that really was like a shakeup for me and forced me to start really thinking. It started me reading the Gospel according to Matthew, started me reading other people who had been skeptics who then became believers. So it all, that took a long time, and it wasn't until my sophomore year in university when all of the pieces kind of came together. So maybe I should stop there and see if you have some, I don't know, a follow-up question.
Yeah, well, it's one of the reasons why most people never shared with me either. Right after I came to faith, through an amazing series of events, I called my Christian friends and said, "Hey, why didn't you ever share with me the gospel? Why didn't you ever share with me who Jesus was?" And they said, "Because you're Jewish." And I didn't think it just didn't come to my mind, that you don't need to hear about Jesus because you're Jewish. And I thought, everybody needs to hear about Jesus. And so that kind of started me on my journey towards sharing the gospel as much as I possibly can, or the good news about the Messiah, with as many Jewish people as I possibly can. Also being raised in a Jewish home and coming to faith in Jesus, having not even looked for him. I wasn't even looking for him. I just knew that I wanted to die. And so when I had my moment when I was at a church service I was invited to, and this is before I came to faith. And when I had this moment where they were reading about the transfiguration of Jesus, and when I saw that Jesus was talking with Moses and Elijah, I thought, okay, these are names I recognize. What are they doing in this book? And it really sparked my interest. And it just, since that time, I just haven't stopped reading the actually, to be fair, the Old Testament as well, I wasn't really familiar with, but the New Testament, just diving in and realizing the Jewishness of this book. So thank you for your story.
Yeah.
So in the next video with Randy Newman, we will be discussing how Judaism and Christianity are not mutually exclusive as commonly thought, and how they actually fit together. You can find information about Randy Newman and his books down in the description below. And if you'd like more of this kind of content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Jews for Jesus YouTube channel. And feel free to visit our website at jewsforjesus.org and follow us on Facebook and Instagram.